Hello, everybody, and welcome to Matt Movies 611. I'm sorry, I'm used to saying Take Three Productions in this. If you can't tell by the title of this video, me and Mike are reviewing Fantastic Four, or I guess technically it's the Fantastic Four First Steps, whatever I'm calling it. But this is a spoiler review. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to immediately just hop into spoilers. We probably will start non-spoilery, just give our general thoughts, and then we'll get more into spoilers. So if you have not seen Fantastic Four First Steps, you should probably not watch this video. But right after you do, come and check out this video. I'm horrible with these introductions. Mike, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing wonderful. Or should I say, fantastic.
And there it is. Yeah, that's been every outlet, every YouTube reviewer has been trying to find a way to work fantastic, or if they're on the other end, which is fine, unfantastic, into their review somewhere. So, I think, kind of before we get into the movie, I kind of just want to know, Mike, just briefly kind of what your relation to Fantastic Four was before this movie, anything with the comics, the previous movies, kind of where did Fantastic Four lie for you in the greater Marvel pantheon?
So as far as the comics go, I don't really have as deep like a history compared to some of my other peers, but the one story that I'm like kind of intimately familiar with is the X-Men crossover Days of Future Present, where Franklin Richards is a big part of that story. Most of my history with the Fantastic Four is on the big screen. I remember back in it was the summer of 2005 when I saw the first Fantastic Four movie. And this was back when I was collecting all of the Marvel soundtracks. So I had like Punisher, the two Spider-Man movies, and of course Fantastic Four. And I'll be honest. Weirdly enough, aside from the Roger Corman movie, this team has not really had the best cinematic impression.
That's putting it kindly. Yeah, because I am kind of a big comics fan. I have volume 1 of the Mighty Marvel Masterworks right here. I'm a pretty big fan of the classic stuff. I've never gotten into like the Ultimates comics or newer stuff. I'm very much the 60s Marvel's First Family. That's my thing. That's a Fantastic Four that I love. Doctor Doom is my favorite Marvel Comics villain. Reed Richards is one of my favorite Marvel Comics characters. And so because of that, now mind you, that was all when I was in high school. Growing up, I really didn't think. It's funny, me and Abe on our podcast, we've talked about this before, that like, because we're the same age, like when Fantastic Four first came out, like I remember that, this is just funny. The big thing for us, at least for me and Abe in our lives, was not the movie. It was like the Burger King toys were huge, but like the movie, I kind of remember just kind of coming and going. I don't remember any of the kids on the playground going, "It's clobbering time," and again, being a kid of the early 2000s, that was our Marvel. Like, it was Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, and it was, those X-Men movies, and it was Ben Affleck, Daredevil, and those are things that I do remember. Like, I remember, friends pretended to be Wolverine or Cyclops. Spider-Man was obviously huge. I remember watching Daredevil on the Sci-Fi Channel. Fantastic Four, not so much. It's funny because when you look at it, that was, I guess, one of the more successful ones because it actually got a sequel. Because, like, Thomas Jane's Punisher didn't get a sequel. Daredevil didn't really get a sequel. It got that weird spin-off with a character who died at the end of the first one. That's neither here nor there. And same thing when Rise of the Silver Surfer came out. I think honestly, again, I think I was just more interested in like the toys, like because, and again, I can't remember if it was fantastic. I can't remember if it was Fantastic Four one or two, because I had the Twisted Toy Fair magazines from back and they talked about the toys, but they had the, which was basically just a Stretch Armstrong, but they had a Mr. Fantastic that you could just like pull, and I was like, oh man, that looks cool.
Oh,
And
that
then I
that is
remember being in a shop in Ireland when my family was in Ireland, and they had figures for the Fantastic Four, and they had one of the Thing in his like kind of human disguise. It's where he's got like the trench coat and the fedora, and honestly, all I thought was, oh, it's like Ninja Turtles. Because if you remember in the Ninja Turtles cartoon, that was kind of their disguise, which is like a fedora and a trench coat. But yeah, Fantastic Four never, again, then I get into the comics when I'm in high school, and then I discover the Roger Corman film, because you can still find it on YouTube for free. Which, if you don't know about this movie, brief history is Roger Corman bought the rights to Fantastic Four when Marvel was in a really bad place in the late 80s and they're just selling off all their stuff. But like with any license, film rights is eventually you gotta make something, you lose them. So Roger Corman went ahead and made this movie that he had no intention of ever releasing whatsoever. He didn't tell anybody who was making the movie, especially the actors who actually paid their way to go to Comic-Con like that year and like promote this movie. And I bring all this up because it's just funny, because for the longest time that was the best Fantastic Four movie for me, because in 2015 we were given Fan Four Stick, which is awful. It really is. It's just because it's like, and I half understand it. I get that like they had success taking Spider-Man and making it a little bit more, not grounded, but taking it a little bit more seriously with the Amazing Spider-Man 1. I know 2 gets a little bit more comic booky, which I'm totally for. But Amazing Spider-Man did kind of step away from like the Sam Raimi movies. And so I get that Josh Trank had done Chronicle, and so their idea was like, what if we do Chronicle but with the Fantastic Four? So like, what if we just don't make it fun and bright and colorful? And it's really kind of awful. The cast are not terrible choices. Like, they're all good actors. They're just given nothing to work with. There's one good scene in the movie, which is when Ben drops Reed off at school, and he gives him the Swiss Army knife, and he's like, you've found your people. That's the only decent scene in that whole movie. It's also really weird that they use Ben's like older brother who's like abusive to him, who tells him it's clobbering time, and then when Ben becomes the Thing, he's like, I'm gonna use that phrase that my brother used to use on me when he would knock me across the room. It's like, oh, that's a bit weird. And then of course Fantastic Four just kind of disappeared, and no one was doing anything with it until now. Well, okay, I guess technically we should mention John Krasinski in Multiverse of Madness. It was a nice bit of fan service, because for the longest time people were saying they wanted to see John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, so I liked it. It was a nice bit of fan service. As we've learned, it was kind of apparently a last minute addition, since Elizabeth Olsen said when she was attached to a lie detector she had never worked with John Krasinski, so whoops. But so we get to this movie. So Mike, can you just give me your general non-spoiler thoughts about Fantastic Four First Steps?
General non-spoiler thoughts. I really liked it. It's probably the first time on the big screen that I got the family dynamic of the team. And also I'm just a big sucker for that retro future aesthetic. So, something that has been ingrained in me since childhood, watching reruns of the Jetsons and like those World of Tomorrow Disney shorts.
Yeah, I got very big, and now I can't think of the ride. Oh no, this is why I'm a horrible host. The ride at Disney! Oh, what is it? The Carousel of Progress.
Yep, that's
I got a lot of vibes of the Carousel of Progress, especially how that ends with the future they kind of show. But I'm sorry, Mike, continue.
um. Anyway, I think I think I when this cast was first announced, I was into most of them. It took me a while to warm up to Pedro Pascal as Reed, because this is definitely a softer version of the character, but still I think ultimately he won me over. Vanessa Kirby was always perfect as Sue Storm. Never had any complaints there. And me just being a big Joseph Quinn fan, I was always into the idea of him as Johnny Storm. And then Eben, let me get his name right. Yeah, Eben Moss Bachrach as Ben Grimm. Perfect. No notes. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll just sort of jump off your point about the cast, and then we can go back to your thoughts. But yeah, so yeah, for me, and it's funny, you can hear me and Abe talk about this on Simple Tricks and Nonsense, which you can find on Take Free Productions. When the cast got announced, we talked about it, and we both agreed that like Vanessa Kirby was just like, yep, great choice, totally perfect choice for Sue Storm. When it comes to Evan, when it comes to Evan, who I'm going to respect his name but not trying to pronounce it. I've seen like one episode of The Bear, so this was really my introduction to him. So I didn't know anything about him going forward. Joseph Quinn, I only knew from Stranger Things, season 4, in which I kind of found his character to be really annoying. Also, I was at Fan Expo in, what was that, 2022, 23, when like famously he was supposed to be there like all weekend, but then his managers like messed up his visa, and so he could only show up on Sunday. I just remember a bunch of people complaining like the entire show about it, and I was like, man, if I cared about this, like that would suck. So I didn't really know anything about him. And then Pedro Pascal was really the biggest, because I knew him, but and again, me and Abe talked about that. There wasn't anything I'd seen up to that point. And again, I said Reed Richards is one of my favorite Marvel Comics characters. I didn't know how to feel about him. Like I think it's partially just I hadn't seen him in anything to where I felt like he could convey that character. And then there's also the other thing sometimes with actors like this, which is not their fault, but when Hollywood really likes actors, and so they kind of just put them in a lot of stuff, and you can kind of get sick and tired of seeing that actor's face. And I had concerns. I'm like, are they putting him in this because Pedro Pascal is just a really popular actor, and because he's in Mandalorian, he works well with Disney, so it's just kind of an easy kind of person to get in there. But thankfully, I was wrong about that, because he was stellar. He's not the Reed from the classic comics, but his Reed I love. I love that like he's neurotic. Mm-hmm. Like he overthinks everything to the last decimal, and a lot of us are like that, but the problem is he's also so smart that his overthinking goes into a whole nother like plane. And he was so good, but he I don't know, man. He really worked for me. Joseph Quinn also really worked for me, because obviously before this, I had seen him and Pedro in Gladiator 2, in which I was like, I get he's supposed to be kind of a dick, but I'm not here for that. And then Evan, I mean, yeah, he was so good as Ben Grimm. And I know some people, and we can get into this, are kind of annoyed that like they didn't really focus a lot on kind of what people feel like is a big part of Ben Grimm's story, but man, he was really, really good. Yeah, so kind of just back to your kind of overall thoughts on the film, and then I'll give mine, then we can just get straight into spoilers.
Well, you know what? I actually want to pick up where you left off with Ben Grimm. Yes, it is true that he doesn't really get a whole lot to do as far as like a big character arc, but what he is and what he kind of represents in the family. You know, he is the rock. He's the one who holds the
Can
family
you
together.
smell what Ben is cooking? It's sauce, apparently. And it's not that he thinks it's bad, he just wants to add a little juice to it.
I
Sorry,
that
continue.
no that whole scene I just absolutely adore, and Herbie too.
Oh, yeah, Herbie's great. Oh, I love Herbie. Herbie is, like, again, he's a very, like, R2, like, the Jetsons version of, like, R2D2. You know? Like, I love it.
That's actually a perfect comparison. But yeah, like Ben Grimm, what little arc he does get, I wish there were more scenes between him and Natasha Lyonne, because that could have been something really.
I agree, yeah,
really
because
special.
she pops up, and I'm a big fan of hers. I think she's great. I still obviously remember her from the American Pie movies, but she's fantastic. And so yeah, when she popped up, I was like, man, yeah, I wish we got a little bit more of this, and you know, hopefully in a sequel we can.
Here's a question that I think deserves to be asked.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we needed to see the origin?
No, I think. All right, this is hard because this is where, like, and this is with all this comic book stuff, is like there's a separation between people like us who are big comic book fans, and we read comics, and we go back and we watch older iterations of these characters in movies and TV shows, and then there are the people who kind of just watch movies when they come out, and then maybe they forget about them. And I think there are some characters that you don't need to do an origin for. Spider-Man, Batman, Superman's probably up there too, to where you don't really need to do an origin. Everyone kind of knows. I don't think the Fantastic Four are up there. However, how they went about referencing the origin, I think worked well. I think it gives you enough. I think it gives you, I think that whole kind of like newsreel, I think it catches you up enough that if you are kind of a Fantastic Four novice, you know, and look, if you're watching this and you don't know anything about that Fantastic Four, you can tell me wrong, because again, that's the hard thing of, again, I'm a big fan of the comics, so I know the origin, so for me, kind of a streamlined version is like, oh, that's okay, because I know it, but like, yeah, if you're someone who's not really into this stuff, then I don't really know. Personally, I didn't need it. And I also almost kind of appreciated that they chose to pick up in 4 years since they've sort of revealed themselves. I think that was cool, because I think, you know, especially in the MCU, we're so used to having to see characters at the start. And again, because that's an easy arc point. You start with the characters when they've just gotten their powers, and then you build them up over the course of the movie to being heroes. It's easy. Here, I kind of like how they chose to do it, which is like, no, they're already, not only are they heroes, but they're celebrated heroes. I mean, remember, it took 3 movies to get Tobey Maguire Spider-Man to that point, to where he's this celebrated hero by everybody. So, you know, I appreciated it. But yeah, again, it's hard to say if it works for a novice. I'll have to ask my brother when he sees this, because he's not a Fantastic Four person whatsoever. He's never read the comics. I don't think he's even seen any of the other movies. So he'll be a good, like, barometer on, like, did you kind of get this origin?
Yeah, that's actually a good idea for general audiences. Like, get someone who is basically a clean slate. For me, one of my favorite styles of exposition dumps is either a newsreel or like an interview scene. And I think what the Ted Gilbert show does,
Yeah.
which I love how that's just a clear copy.
Yeah,
of
it's Ed Sullivan. Yeah, 100% Ed Sullivan. Yeah. Well, and also, I almost wonder if they ever so slightly took this opening and this sort of style from that movie that for the longest time people said was the best Fantastic Four movie that's not a Fantastic Four movie, which is The Incredibles. Because if you remember, that movie opens up with them all being interviewed, and then, of course, we find out the unraveling of the superhero with the spinning papers and the, a superhero is being sued for allegedly saving someone who didn't want to be saved. So I almost wonder if maybe there was also just kind of a wink and a nod to that. Probably not. It's probably just mainly Ed Sullivan. And I do want to mention, as we talked about the 94 movie, it's really cool that there's, at the end of that sort of opening, which actually, by the way, if you want to see the opening before you've seen the movie, if you go on Disney Plus and Hulu, they have a sneak peek of Fantastic Four. It's actually just the whole opening Ted Gilbert show sequence.
Oh, that's cool.
There is a shot where there is a group of 4 thanking the Fantastic Four, and there's actually the cast of the 94 movie.
Oh, I was wondering where they
Which
would
I
slot in.
really appreciated that they tipped their hat to these people who, unfortunately didn't get to be in the movie. But yeah, so my kind of non-spoiler thoughts, this is the Fantastic Four movie I've been waiting for. As a big fan of the comics, this is everything I wanted. In a real way, it was that family dynamic was on full force, which is such a big part of those characters. I think more so than any other superhero team, this sort of dynamic of Reed is the dad, and Sue is the mom, and Ben and Johnny are, Ben's the uncle, and Johnny is kind of the pardon my French, asshole kid, at least in the original comics. Like, that's such a vital element to him, and that comes into so many different ways. With Reed, he's constantly looking to cure his family of this stuff. He takes on that brunt of that, he's upset about that, and Sue is the matronly, like, everything's going to be okay, and Johnny is the hothead, and Ben is trying to be strong, even though this completely sucks. And this movie just captured all of that perfectly. Yeah, was there stuff I wish they focused on a little bit more? Yeah. Would I have liked to have them focused on Ben's sort of struggle a bit more? Yes. But then you factor in this is 4 years after it happened, and there does become a point to where you almost become maybe not fully okay with it. You're kind of like, nothing's going to change right now. I mean, I do have to say, I did love that shot. And I think it's in one of the trailers or TV spots to where there's the news report about them, and Ben's watching it, and it's him when he was a human, and then the TV gets shut off, and he sees his reflection.
Oh,
yeah,
like, that's a good shot.
Man, that was really, really, really cool. I also appreciated the fact that they really subtly pointed to the fact that Ben Grimm is Jewish.
Yeah.
Which I can't remember if that's a thing in the comics. I can't remember.
Maybe not the original run, but
maybe
I know
some of the newer stuff. But yeah. I appreciate that it was not a big thing to focus on. It was just, and again, it's one of the subtle things to where it's he talks about obviously going to the deli for the cookies, and then he grew up in that apartment, and then towards the end of the film, he ends up in the temple, and which is Natasha works at. I'm assuming she works at, or maybe she's just there praying. I assume she must be like the teacher for the sort of temple school, I would assume.
Yeah, like a Sunday school teacher.
Yeah, but I guess, and then you sort of put two and two, and you go, oh, Ben must be Jewish. And I like that it's not like hugely focused on, because it's like, well, we don't have to. It's not, he's Jewish.
Yeah, there are enough like context clues where if you are Jewish or know people who like
it doesn't have to bang you over the head. It's just like oh, isn't that nice? And then I if there's a faulting to the cast, and I said in my review, Johnny got a little on my nerves with the making fun of Reed. And look, I half get it. I half get that it is the brother-in-law ribbing his brother-in-law, but like, there were some points where I'm like, you didn't you don't have to continually make fun of him there, Johnny. Give the guy a break, you know. But again, look, maybe I have a different relationship with my brother-in-laws, so maybe that's it. But on the whole, I think the cast was fantastic, and yeah, the whole movie, like, we'll get more into this. Like, there is a problem that some people have with it that I honestly don't think it's a problem whatsoever, that we'll get into. But overall, like I said, I mean, this movie, as a Fantastic Four fan, gave me exactly what I wanted. I love the world. I love that retro Jetsons, like, you know, Carousel of Progress, 60s, but the future that they did. I think that's so... It's so cool that I'm almost, and we'll get into this at the end, I'm almost kind of nervous of what's going to happen with these characters moving forward.
Yeah.
But we'll get into it.
Well,
I think now we're going to move into, and I should probably, just for the... screw it, I'm not going to make a banner. Okay, we're going to move into spoiler talk. If you have not seen the movie, stop here. I mean, the freaking title of this video is spoiler review. We're going to get into spoilers now. And the first kind of thing I want to bring up with that is obviously Galactus and Silver Surfer. Because I didn't want to bring them up pre-spoilers because there's just so much to talk about. What do you think about our antagonist for this film, Mike?
Ralph Ineson is the perfect choice to play Galactus. He already has like a naturally booming voice, but also the fact that this is mostly practical is just made his character even more like of a tangible threat. Like unlike Rise of the Silver Surfer, where he's a giant purple fart.
Yeah,
cloud.
he's a fart cloud in space. Oh, but hey, they show you the shadow of Comet Galactus on that one planet. So stupid. And then for some reason, the Green Lantern movie decided to do the exact same thing with their villain.
Yeah, and then Smallville season 10 did it with Darkseid, and
I don't know why was that a thing in the mid 2000s.
I have no idea. I think they were just too scared.
They're just lazy is what they were.
Scared, lazy, and just embarrassed of the source material.
I mean that's a conversation for a different thing, but there was that problem for a while of the mid 2000s of just like, we're making comic book stuff, but we don't want it to be too comic booky. Come on, guys.
That just goes back to what I love about this. It embraces...
It is comic booky. It is silly. There's so much silliness in this movie, but it's fun silliness. In the same way, like, Superman the movie is silly but serious.
Yeah, it's silly, but it's also sincere. And
I think I just have to, because I mentioned Superman the movie, which at this point we should just take a drinking game on that, just for all streams I'm on. But Richard Donner had the quote, you know, you take the material seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously. I think that is what they did here. It was, we're taking the material seriously, but we're also going to have fun with it, because it's a Fantastic Four, and we can have fun with this.
Exactly. Which brings me to Shala Ball, our Silver Surfer. Yeah, she's great. She is imposing, but also has like a warmth to her. Like you understand exactly why.
Yeah, they give you why she is doing what she's doing, and it's good. I think it's like, you know, again, I think one of the biggest problems is just when you want more from things. Yeah, I would have liked a little bit more. I liked that kind of relationship with her and Johnny, and having Johnny figure out from her translation, he's able to translate all these other messages and use them against her to show her, like, this is what you're doing. This is what you're helping to have happen. You saved your world only to cost so many others. Yeah, I mean, TikTok has now turned that line into a thing. So I've heard over the past week, I've heard just 100,000 different, I herald his beginning, I herald your end, I herald Galactus. And I'm like, well, that's going to get really tiresome, isn't it? Thank you, TikTok, for ruining nice things. But overall, she was good. And yeah, there's a lady Silver Surfer in the comics, so it's not like they just made it up for the movie. And for the movie, it makes sense. Um, because there is that story of motherhood, which Sue obviously has with Franklin, and then Silver Surfer had with her daughter. So there is that almost sort of connective tissue. Because yeah, that's a big plot point is the fact that Franklin Reed is born and apparently has these powers that will quench Galactus of his hunger for eating planets. So in real and now I can't think of the children's story. Why can't I think of it? It's the one where she's got to guess his name. Rumpelstiltskin. And a real Rumpelstiltskin kind of move. He just wants the baby. Or as everyone's been kind of spoiler without context, it's just been from Austin Powers too, where it's just like, I want to have your baby. Get in my belly. And it's like, oh yeah, well that is kind of it, isn't it? Which it's funny watching the trailers back and be like, oh wow, they edited Sue and Franklin out of that scene, didn't they? Which yeah, we don't. Okay, I don't want to focus on this too long because I know a lot of people have been complaining about this, but there is that thing to where people are like, because obviously Galactus is like, hey, if you give me that kid, I'll spare Earth, and they go, no, and then they come back to Earth and they say, yeah, Galactus wanted our kid for Earth, and we said no, and then everyone gets mad at them, and everyone's like, why did they tell them? Because they're heroes and they don't lie. That's why.
Exactly. Like, if I were in that same position, I would tell the truth. I wouldn't hide it.
It doesn't, because and the funny thing is I think it doesn't help. It doesn't. Galactus is still going to come to Earth regardless if they tell him a lie or the truth. But by telling them the truth, you're able to have that great moment with Sue to where she's like, I'm not giving him up. I wouldn't expect you to give up your children. Like, I wouldn't, because that's always the thing is everybody is just like, all these people, it's just like, well, what if Galactus wanted your kid? Like, it's really, and again, that's to a lot of stuff in our world. It's easy when it's not your family member that you're giving up, and you would like to say, oh, well, especially when it's a baby who can't, it's one thing if Franklin was 25 and could make that decision on his own, but he's an infant. He can't make that call. Why should we just force infants to do stuff? At that point, why don't we just make infants fight in gladiatorial ring matches, Like,
seriously.
They can't make decisions for themselves. But yeah, I liked that. Yeah, I like that whole thing, and it drove home that point of family, that point of, we win this by sticking together. And it's great. And yeah, I liked Galactus. I'm so glad that they made him the big planet eater. I'm glad that at the end they didn't cheapen out and have it be that he can shrink down in size to that of a 7-foot tall man or something. Like, I'm glad they just let him be huge. Which then leads into, and me and Mike talked about this a little earlier in the week, the ending. Which, spoilers again, is basically Reed had sort of at the beginning of the movie had sort of perfected this transporter. And so he comes up with the idea of, we're going to put these all over the Earth, and then we're just going to transport the Earth somewhere else, and he won't be able to find us. Which made me in the theater go, oh, that's how they wind up in the MCU. Because a lot of the movie I'm thinking, how are they going to wind up in the MCU? I know, what movie is it, wherever the post-credit scene is?
That's Thunderbolts.
Yeah. Excuse me. So I'm like, oh, that's how they do it. They wind up, and that's how they wind up in our solar system, in our galaxy, and then the Fantastic Four and go do some recon, and that's how they wind up on Earth. So I thought this was going to be like an anticlimax to where you think it's going to be a big battle with Galactus and Silver Surfer, but, they count down, and then it works, and then it's more the, whoa, where the hell are we? Oh, we're in this different universe, which leaves Galactus and Silver Surfer as future enemies for the Fantastic Four, for the Avengers, for that. They did not obviously do that because, of course, as they're about to get the transport to work, the Silver Surfer just comes in and starts destroying all but one of them. Which then leads Reed Richards to come up with a plan that, honestly, he probably should have thought of from the very start, which was, well, what if we just use this transporter to just get Galactus off his ship, transport him to the end of the known universe in which he has no ship, so he's screwed.
Yeah,
it's fine. It's okay. I get it. But it is like, you didn't figure that one, did you? Yeah, because then of course we get kind of our second fake out, which is you think Johnny is gonna sacrifice himself, but then Silver Surfer sacrifices herself. That doesn't matter because Sue Storm is dead, which as someone who we follow these news cycles, I've seen the video of all the chairs, and I know Vanessa Kirby's in this, which had me on, oh god, because I went, we're gonna do the same thing we did with Gamora in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, aren't we? It's gonna still be Vanessa Kirby, but it's not gonna be their Sue Storm, and it's gonna be them trying to grapple with the fact that it's not the Sue. Thank God they didn't do that. I'm so happy they didn't do that, because I'm like, I did not want to sit through that. I'm so happy that instead Franklin just has crazy powers bringing Mom back to life. Yeah, I was so happy. And also, some people have been complaining about, like, oh, Sue has all this, like, why does she just always do that? It's like, do you not understand? Her kid was going to be captured and killed. That's just, like, that's the mom adrenaline of, like, a mom can lift a car to save her baby. That's what it... And also, It killed her. So that's also why she doesn't do that all the time. I hate when people do that, when someone shows a big power, and the context is literally told and shown to you, and yet you still like to take it out of context of, why don't they do that all the time?
Yeah, it's just people being obtuse just for the sake of being obtuse.
Exactly. But yeah, Mike, what were your kind of thoughts about the climax, kind of leading into it, and kind of the sort of twist and turns it took?
I like when the entire world was cooperating in powering the teleportation device. Like, it was just really cool and kind of utopian to see the entire world be on the same page. Like, at 7 or 8 o'clock, where we've got like a worldwide like electric curfew. That's just like it's just kind of cool.
It's certainly stuff you don't see in our world, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, no.
Although I do love all the jokes I've been seeing of just like Victor at 8 o'clock and Latverian is just turning on every electronic device. I like that.
Also the fact that during one of the early
the UN scene when Sue is addressing them, they have the shot of Latveria and there's no representation. I loved that. We are going to talk about the Thing in a little bit, but that whole opening was full of so many great little nods. Obviously, they recreated the cover to Fantastic Four #1. That was one of my favorites. That's also where John Malkovich would have slipped in, because he was the evil scientist with the apes, but they cut him.
Yeah, the red ghost.
Which I get, because obviously now seeing the movie how it is edited, it's like they probably would have just had some scenes with him, almost like with Paul Walter Hauser's Mole Man, which could have been fine. But yeah, it wasn't necessary. But yeah, that various stuff was great. Man. But yeah, back to your thoughts on the climax, Mike.
I just want to briefly touch on Paul Walter Hauser as Mole Man, because while he wasn't in there for long, his role kind of reminded me a bit of how the Penguin was used in the Batman, where, you know, he's not the focus, but he is like a major player in the world of the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, he's a fun little, like, not even side character, like side character. I do have to say I did laugh when all the people are coming down and goes, wipe your shoes, and he goes, I'm just kidding, it's all dirt down here. Because I love Paul Walter Hauser ever since my intro to him was Cobra Kai season 2, so he's always going to be Stingray to me. So I love him. He's great, and I'm glad like he's in this new Naked Gun movie. I'm really glad that because that Richard Jewell was it Richard Jewell?
Yep.
That Richard Jewell movie didn't really work out for him. At least not to my knowledge. He didn't really get any awards nominations or wins or anything. So I'm glad he's still getting put in stuff and he's still fun. So I like seeing that.
Yeah, I just love whenever he shows up in anything. Now, as for the the actual climax, what happened? This almost reminded me a bit of the Doctor Strange versus Dormammu, where it's not it's not just like it's not just two superpower beings beating the crap out of each other. It's like they actually have to use strategy and outsmart the other.
Yeah, it's fun, and I guess this is a good time to point at that because there's been a lot of complaints that there's only two action sequences in the movie. There's the fight with Galactus on his ship, which then leads into the shuttle fight, and then there's the end battle, and that's it. And there's a little bit of splicing of action in the opening, but that's about it. Honestly, I'm okay with how they chose to do it.
Same. But also the chase sequence with the Silver Surfer, like in outer space with the black
Well,
hole.
yeah, it was so cool because I love how like at first they think, okay, once we go to warp, that's it, she's done, and then she gets in there, and then it's like Johnny, blow her away, but then because they're in warp, the blasts are being warped around, and they have to work around. I'm like, that's really smart. And well, and this raises an issue, which is like comic book movies are not just action movies. Like comic books, some of the best comic book stories have no action in them. One of the best issues of Frank Miller's Daredevil run is it's an issue of Matt and Bullseye in a hospital room where Bullseye's in a full body cast and Matt's playing Russian roulette with him, and then at the very end, it's revealed that there was no bullet in the gun. No action in that, no fighting in that. It's just it's all psychological stuff. So this idea that like all comic book movies need to be these big action movies with five different sequences, I think this was perfect. I think it utilized it perfectly.
Yeah, like you could almost look at this more as like a sci-fi adventure movie, like something that would have been rerun on Disney Channel back in like the 80s.
Well, and that does kind of lead into a really cool discussion, which is the fact that like this is a Marvel movie. It's been the first time in a very long time to where you don't need to have seen any of the other Marvel movies to watch this. You can walk into this and just enjoy the movie. Like, and I kind of appreciate that. I kind of appreciate the fact that like, because like, look, I've been following the Marvel movies since they first came out. Me and Mike are around the same age. We're old people to where we remember when Iron Man first came out, So like, it's cool that there is this movie that's kind of standalone-ish to where it doesn't. You can just watch this movie. I think that's honestly just going to help the success of this movie. Not just in the box office, but I also think when it does come to home media, I think it's just going to be an easy movie that, like, I could show my parents this, Like, it's kind of hard to show my parents Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It's kind of hard to show your parents Endgame if they haven't seen any other Marvel movies. Like, here, you can just kind of show them this movie, and it's kind of just a fun sci-fi movie.
Yeah, when my mom is expressing interest in seeing this, that's when you know it's doing something right. Although, to be fair, she was a big fan of the Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
Yeah. Which they do make reference to, of course, twice.
Which is, I love it.
Yeah, but and I guess I don't want to focus on this too much, but because this is a review, it's not really a future, but like that does kind of have me worried about because obviously the Fantastic Four are gonna show up in the greater MCU. We know they're in Doomsday, and I'm almost at a point where I'm like, It's almost like Superman and Lois, how we were so happy that Superman and Lois clearly set itself apart from the Arrowverse, so it could just be its own thing. It didn't have to have baggage of Arrow and the Flash and having to do crossovers and all this. It just got to be its own show. I almost kind of would wish that Fantastic Four, based off of just how great this movie was in the world, I almost kind of just wish they would just let this be its own thing. Kind of like what the Batman seems like it's going to be in the DCU. To where it's just like, it gets to be its own thing with Penguin. It doesn't... Robert Pattinson is not going to cross over with David Cornswept, and that's okay.
It almost seems like this is becoming the opposite of Superman and Lois, where instead of being taken out of a shared universe, it's like kind of...
It's starting in its own universe, and it's going to be folded into a shared one.
Yeah.
And it's just... Because, I'll tell you... I really hope they don't do it, but I'm afraid they might. I really don't want to have the scene to where Reed Richards is talking to, like, Bruce Banner. He's like, what's this newfangled technology you got here? We don't have that on my Earth. Like, I don't want to say, what's a cell phone? I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid they might do that.
Well, I mean, they resisted doing that with Captain America. Like, yes, he had like the list, but like Captain America: The Winter Soldier was more about.
You are right. You are correct. I'll give you that. They did. Although Avengers did kind of poke fun at it.
Sure,
but yeah,
that
was just one of those things. Whatever. It's my own thing. Let's just focus on me now. And obviously, we need to talk about the post-credit scenes, but we're gonna talk about the second one first, which some people are arguing should have been the first one. I mean, that's semantics. It's like, look, you can't have two Game Changer post credits. If you didn't have a Game Changer in the first one, people would complain because they're like, oh, then no one's gonna stay around for the second one. That means something. So you can't win. I personally think it's smart to go with the Game Changer, Bobby, the more relevant one first, because a lot of people stay for the nice, beautiful end credits and don't stick around for all the just white text on black. So I'm okay with it. It was a fun, you get to see the full cartoon intro. It was fun. I almost would like when they release this on Blu-ray or something, if they do like they did with the Incredibles DVD,
yes.
To where on the second disc they had like a fake episode of the Mr. Fantastic and Frozone show. And then they also went so far as to... I love that. The fact that they had Craig T. Nelson and Sam Jackson record
do like
the audio commentary. And Frozone is just complaining about the rabbit the whole time. He's like, why is there a rabbit in this? You don't even get to see me making the ice bridge. I'm like, this is amazing. This is so... I would love if they did that. If they went ahead and produced like a full episode and then had the Fantastic Four's commentary for said episode. I don't think it's going to happen, but it'd be great. But it's fun.
I need that.
It's a fun little tongue-in-cheek reference to the Hanna-Barbera cartoon from back in the day. Well, obviously the big one is we flash forward to, a year? Does it give us a Life of Time?
I don't remember if it was like 1 year or another 4 years.
I can't remember, but Franklin's grown up a little bit. He's reading with Sue.
Oh yeah, it is 4 years later.
Okay, it's 4 years. He's reading with Sue, but he wants a specific book. Herbie lifts up this like, what is it, Galileo or something, like some crazy smart book, but it's like, well, his father is Reed Richards, so that makes sense. She finds the book that he wants, but then she gets a weird feeling. And as she comes around the corner, we see the mask of Victor Von Doom, and we see Franklin touching his face, and it cuts to black. I like it. It's cool. It's cool. If you know it, it's really cool. I'm really happy that the mask looks like Doctor Doom's mask, because there was kind of these rumors that he might not really be Victor Von Doom. He might be a multiverse Tony Stark, and so the mask might reflect more Iron Man than Doom. I'm happy that's not the case.
Same.
I mean, what did you think of the post-credit scene, Mike?
I liked it. I liked like you said, I like the mask. I like how the cloak doesn't look. It doesn't look like a store bought costume. It looks authentically like something he would wear.
Yes. And it does kind of bring up this question of, because we know Franklin has powers. He saved Sue's life. A lot of people I've been seeing talking about think that, because obviously, you're paying all this money to get Robert Downey Jr. to beat Victor Von Doom. Victor Von Doom, famously, in the comics, wears that iron suit because he's horribly disfigured. And so a lot of people are thinking that Franklin cures him of his disfigurement, which honestly makes sense.
It's a nice cop out to avoid
having to it's an easy fix, but it's a fix that you establish in the movie. This is not beyond the capabilities of Franklin because we really don't know what his capabilities are fully. It's cool. Now what I'm most interested in is this one of these post-credit scenes that will pop up in a future movie? Because the MCU did that for a while, like the post-credit scene at the end of Captain America: The First Avenger, that popped up in Avengers. The post-credit scene from Ant-Man popped up in Civil War. Like they have a history of having post-credit scenes that do make their way into the movies. And I almost wonder if this is going to be the case. If in Doomsday, this is like the opening scene or something. Because I almost want that moment of Reed Richards running in and Victor stands up and he sees him not disfigured and he has that like, Victor, like you're, and he's like, oh, Reed, I thought you would have forgotten me. Because I'm assuming he's not doing a Latvian accent. I'm just assuming he's going to sound like Robert Downey Jr. But you know what I'm saying? Like, and I almost kind of want to see that.
I'm pretty sure even the Russos even directed that, like, that mid-credits scene. So
didn't they say that? I want to say I could be wrong about that. I feel like I read that somewhere that they directed that, which makes me think it could be from Doomsday.
And they did the same thing for Thunderbolts too.
So maybe that's the one I was thinking about. That might be I don't know. Whatever. It would make sense if that was like an opening scene.
Yeah, that seems to make the most sense.
Because you do that setup of Sue discovering Victor with Franklin. You can't just have some dialogue where it's like, oh, BT Dubs read, Victor was here and he was hanging out with Franklin.
No, you have to really sell.
Yeah, follow up that scene, because then there's a whole lot of questions of, well, how did he get into the Baxter Building without being seen? Obviously, because he's Victor Von Doom and he's got magic. Which, please, MCU, let him have magic and not be technology. Just please let him have magic. I know Shang-Chi kind of worked out, but not really, so you might not want to do magic. Just please let him be magic. Doctor Strange worked out, and he's magic. Let him be magic, for God's sakes.
Yeah, I mean...
Because that's all they ever Victor Von Doom. They've all just been technological. They're not magic. Victor Von Doom is magic.
I don't know if you saw all of Ironheart, but...
I saw none of Ironheart.
Okay, well, I'll just say this. The way they kind of combined in some scenes, like magic and technology, I feel like that's a good primer for how they may do Doctor Doom.
Okay, good, because that was just one of my fears. That's always been one of my fears with introducing Doctor Doom, is just the, like, please just make him be magic. I know it's stupid, but just do it. Just do it. Just do it! So Mike, I mean, we've been going for almost an hour. Is there really anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
I think we covered just about everything.
Me too. There's just one thing, or no, I'm sorry. You finish your point. I'm sorry. That's a bad host on my end.
All good. I guess the only other thing I have to mention is the music. Michael Giacchino's score is it's incredible.
It's so good. It's so good. And it's funny, I just saw a TikTok where he talked about Steven Spielberg gave him his career because he heard him like do the like music for the Lost World PlayStation like demo, and then he was like, "How about I score the whole game?" And that's just why he has a career, because Steven Spielberg knows talent when he sees it or hears it, I guess.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's so that theme, the rousing just chorus of Fantastic Four, it's been like stuck in my head since I saw the movie. It's so befitting to what they are, of just this like larger than life superhero team. I love it. It's fantastic.
Oh, and speaking of Incredibles, that's another movie that Giacchino scored. So
yeah. And that's one of the best Pixar scores.
Exactly.
So I will say before we wrap up is, the title. I don't quite get why this is called First Steps when they're already 4 years into doing this. It's a little weird.
This is just another example of Marvel being cute with its titles when they have these characters like folded into the MCU. Like Daredevil Born Again isn't really an adaptation.
Yeah, he's not Born Again. He's nothing. I mean, I guess now, mind you, I haven't watched the show, but I'm assuming they don't reference anything about She-Hulk, so maybe that's what they mean.
And then Spider-Man Homecoming is...
I mean, I guess technically in that one, he's coming home from Germany. So,
I guess.
Kind of. And then he is far from home.
You know what? First Steps is about Franklin.
Shit.
There we go. We figured it out.
I got the Robert De Niro meme. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because he is a baby. He takes his first steps. Yeah, no, maybe that's it. Yeah, that was my own thing. That was just like, that's a marketing nitpick. That's not, because I'm just like, why didn't you just call it the Herald of Galactus or something?
That would have been an awesome title.
See, Marvel, call me. Marvel Marketing, call me up. I would love a job. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's all we've had to say. I'm look, me and Mike do a lot of streams together. I'm sure as I will definitely be seeing this movie another time. Maybe not in theaters, but I'll definitely... This is one of those I'll be picking up first day on Blu-ray, so I'm sure we'll talk about this again, especially when Doomsday is coming out. I'm sure we'll revisit it. But we just had some fun talking about this really great comic book movie. I'm not going to make you choose between the two, Mike, because that's not what this review is about. That could be for another show. So, Mike, where can the good people out there on the interwebs find you?
You guys can find me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Blue Sky at Renegade Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, on Podchaser. Consider supporting our everything at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. You can escape, so do we.
And you guys, as always, can find me at Kearns_Matthew on Twitter. I'm used to being on other things and not plugging Matt Movie 611. So you can always find me right here, but you can also find me on Take 3 Productions with me and my buddy Abe Flores, where we do our random show, Simple Tricks and Nonsense. Plans, we're coming back next Tuesday, and Abe really wants to talk about Superman, so be sure to check that out. But you can always find me here doing things. Also, check me out on Letterboxd, MattMovie611, and WordPress. Not sure what the next article is going to be about, probably about Superman, but maybe I'll talk about the Fantastic Four. Maybe I'll review the 90s movie on my WordPress, maybe. But yeah, you can always find me here. Consider subscribing to me. And if you liked this video, share it around because word of mouth helps me grow. Thank you, Mike, so much for being here. Thank you, everybody, for watching this live or on the replay. And we will see you next time here on Matt Movies 611.